All right. That sounds good, Corey. All good. Looks like he's logged back in.
Are you on the air? So we're on the air. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. Oh, it's good. We're on the air. Okay, so it's good. So, Moose, we got you. And everybody, thanks for hanging with us. I guess there was a power bump. I'm not going to go too far anymore down that road. We all crashed, says Bill in Regina. So, anyways, I think the last I heard, Darren, was we were talking about the best goaltender tandems of all time in the NHL. It's Fear and Moog as far as we're concerned. Actually, I threw it to you and said, who's
What?
yours? Yeah, who's
I'm
yours?
just kidding. Uh, I went a couple places with it. Okay.
You got 30 seconds. Rip. Let her rip.
Dominic Hasek and Chris Osgood is what came to mind for me. How good they were when
Ooh.
they were winning cups. That was the one that jumped out for me.
Well, Moose, looks like you're done for the day, but I'm back. So let's rock it, baby. Enjoy the rest of your time and safe travels home.
Have a good one.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Okay, we're back, and it sure is Monday, but we're pulling it together as a team. Glad that you stuck with us, everybody, and I'll be honest with you, I did not expect – I guess I expected to go down this road. I didn't think we'd go as far down this road because fall is for football, but it is also, Game Plus television out of Canada where we are anchored on daily. And thank you guys in Game Plus for your help with us getting back on the air here. But the point is, I said before the break, it's NHL goalie week. That got me excited. The NHL has designated it NHL goalie week. And that was on the weekend they were announcing that coming out. And I'm like, ooh, what did this mean? And on Monday, today, they came out with this question: who's the greatest goalie tandem in NHL history? And Rich, God bless you, I had thought about this. It popped into my head the second I saw the question. It's Andy Moog and Grant Fuhr from the Edmonton Oilers in the 80s. But what people are writing in here, it's unbelievable what they are saying. Bomber Boy says Connor Hellebuck and Comrie are the best current goalie duo. Well, that's not really the question, but we'll get to that. Ken in Mississauga, Ontario, watching, says Ken Dryden and Bunny LaRock. There are a lot of great suggestions here. Who was it that says, Jeff, the Stamps fan, says Bob Sauvé and Donnie Edwards, 1980 co-winners of the Vezina with the Sabres. Here's the thing about that. It's like having Tom Brady and whoever his backup is. That's not a tandem. It's Tom Brady and some guy with the Edmonton Oilers in the 80s. And this is how you'll know that I'm not racist. My dad packed us up as a family, and we took the van to Edmonton. My two older brothers, me, mom, and dad, and we got tickets to 2 Oiler games. And Andy Moog was playing both games, and I was pissed off because I wanted to see Grant Fuhr. Nothing against Andy Moog, which ironically my dad and Andy Moog would end up working together with the Dallas Stars many, many years later. But anyways, it's Fuhr and Moog. Stop. Because I immediately thought, we could go back and look up the William Jennings Award winner for the best tandem goals against average or whatever decides that. I'm sure it is goals against average, but it's not that. The thing with the Oilers in the 80s was you could play either one and know that you could win. It wasn't, we're going to play this guy to give him a blow, as they say in football, or like Sergei Bobrovsky with the Florida Panthers here. He's had a rotating stable of backup goalies as long as I've been here, and I've been going into year 5 now covering the Florida Panthers. Can't even remember the guys last year. Vitek Vanacek, he's already gone. Anthony Stoller's the year before that. Alex Lyons the year before that. So it's not about having one really great banger in goal and then a backup to play 10 games. No, it's 1A, 1B, and we can win with either guy. To me, there isn't anybody else besides Fuhr and Moog. Now, Darren brought up a good point about Hasek and Osgood, and I'm certainly here for the discussion. And I thank everybody for their patience and tuning in. And yes, fall is for football. It's funny because I didn't know if we were going to get back on the air today or not. And Corey, I was like, that'd be a hell of a 38-minute podcast we had with Moose, who was here for a good time, but not a long time. It would have been, I knew he would get us on, but I'm like, there was 38 minutes of great stuff. NFL Week 1 takeaways, overreactions, CFL Week 14. Darren broke it down very concisely. The Blue Jays losing the weekend series at the Yankees, and they're off today. This goalie tandem question. And what else do you need? The thing that I wanted to ask Darren about was Connor McDavid. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm very, as I said earlier, very happy to be home in South Florida. And my phone been blown up with my friends and stuff. And my point, well, I have a lot of points on that. But here's the hockey in Canada, it's just too much. What's great in certain U.S. markets is you get the hockey as much as you want. In Canada, it's shoved down your throat. Like, I'm already tired of the Connor McDavid talk. And I told you guys that a week or two ago. Now he did a sit down with Ryan Rishock. He's getting the same questions all the time. And now he's going to shave off one less year and take less money. Oh, my God. Is there nothing else to talk about? And I wanted to get Darren's take on that. And then Power got in the way. Yeah, Shy writes in and says, Rod Pedersen's dad. This is my dad's goal mask, his Hall of Fame goal mask. I'm excited about this new set here that we've got going on, and I was very excited to get that on it. It looks kind of voodoo-y, doesn't it? But it's Ken Dryden vintage. Glenn is watching in Medicine Hat, and he says, Jerry Cheevers and Gilly Gilbert. Come on, for real? They won 1 cup. Fear and Moog won, 4 together. Fierzy won 5. Devin in Burns Lake, BC says, Hasek as the backup for Belfour. Eddie the Eagle. So anyways, we'll continue this discussion going. And if you have thoughts on Connor McDavid, I'll read them. But again, fall is for football, so I want to get back on track here. And I didn't really expect this would take off this way. Bill in Brantford, Ontario writes in, and he says, Glenn Hall and Jacques Plante with the St. Louis Blues. Best goaltending duo for me. Well, you guys, I know you love the stories. And coming back in hour 2, I feel like we're too far gone in this hour. We're going to stay on the goalie discussion here, especially since I'm a goalie guy. But I did a banquet in whatever year it was, 2019 in Saskatoon. It was the Kinsman dinner, and it was a tribute to goalies. And it was Glenn Hall, Ed Belfour, Bernie Perrant. A lot of you will remember these stories. Ed Belfour. There were 5. But anyways, Glenn Hall came out. Brodeur, Belfour, Fuhrer, Perrant, and Hall. And Glenn came out on the stage and looked at them all, Mr. Goalie, and said, guys, I forgot how ugly you all are. Place goes nuts. It's a goalie thing. Best tandem ever is what we're talking about, but it's Fear and Moog, and I don't even know why we're still talking about it. But Utah Darren writes in, and he says, sorry to switch sports, but Montana or Young for the Niners in the 90s. That's my point. We're going to get to football next hour. We're too far gone this hour to switch topics, but beginning September 29th, we are going to television in Las Vegas daily, and I just thought, why the hell not? I got the Golden Knights jersey. As I said, some of these things came down with me from Canada, my dad's mask being one, the Golden Knights jersey being another. I have to apologize to Brent from Wellington, Florida. I can't find the framed 8x10 he gave me of him and I fishing, pulling in that 40-pound sailfish. 40 foot would be something. But I'll find it. It's got to be around here somewhere. Sports update for Ultimate Fan Zone. The Toronto Blue Jays, who fell 4-3 to the New York Yankees yesterday to lose 2 of 3 on the weekend, still hold a 1-game lead in the American League East with 2-game lead with 19 games to go. They're off today before opening a 6-game homestand Tuesday against the Astros, with the Baltimore Orioles in for a weekend set starting Friday. Chicago Bears entertain the Minnesota Vikings tonight on Monday Night Football at Soldier Field as the opening week of the NFL season wraps up. Rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy, the 10th overall pick in the 2024 draft, makes his debut for Minnesota after missing last year with a knee injury suffered in his lone preseason appearance. And I think that's why the Vikings are only favored by 1.5. If Sam Darnold was quarterbacking this game for the Vikings tonight, it would be, I would think, 5 or 6 points, regardless of who's at home or on the road. Because as Johnny Avello tells us from DraftKings, their odds-making guru, home field doesn't mean that much anymore in football. And I don't know why that is. Doesn't in hockey either. But the sports update is brought to you by UFZ Moose Jaw. Are you looking for the hottest fan gear? Swing by Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store in Moose Jaw or shop online at ultimatefanzone.ca, where real fans get their gear. We'll be breaking shortly, coming back in hour 2. It was a very fast first hour, wasn't it? We've got a couple minutes left here in this one. But had a lot of notes to get to with Darren, and they were all NFL related. And how things are going to change now because we're getting closer, I think, to the date of going to Vegas television. I know the Game Plus guys won't care. Jeremy's watching right now. They're cool either way. They're the coolest guys. But hour 1 is going to be primarily Canadian talk, for sure, CFL. If we hadn't been bumped there, I would have asked Darren about the Canada West and the U Sports on the weekend. Scruffy is saying and he did on Friday. He's predicting a Hardy Cup rematch, Rams, Huskies, and based on the weekend results, it looks like that's the way that it's going. But anyways, all that talk will be in hour 2. The Vegas Television Silver State Sports Entertainment Network is only carrying hour 2. So it's going to be a hell of a lot more NFL, but a lot of hockey because it's universal. And I was with some friends in Florida yesterday, and they're like, are your Canadian viewers going to be upset if you don't talk as much Canadian? I said, we're used to it. I don't think that I abandon everybody. I lived in Canada for half a century. We're used to U.S. programming. So just think of the hour 1 as a gift. But we'll be continuing that into hour 2 today, the CFL talk, because the Saskatchewan Roughriders proved that they are the best team in the Canadian Football League. I'm sorry. I want to get into that. Maybe the Luke Wilson, Bob Irving feud, if we have time, even as distasteful as it is. Because with Calgary going up to Edmonton, and let's be honest, soiling the sheets at Commonwealth Stadium, being upset by the Elkimos 31-19, Calgary's not in the discussion of the best team anymore. We flirted around it. We tried to skirt it. But the fact remains, Bill Parcells said it first. John Frenzy made it famous. Your record is who you are. And that's the Saskatchewan Roughriders at 10-2. They will beat Calgary when they play them in the playoffs, if Calgary even gets that far. The Riders are head and shoulders the best team in the CFL. So we have a lot of things to get to here in hour 2. Thank you. I think I'm going to carry these comments over. Rich in Edmonton says, Moog shocked the Habs in 1981. My earliest Oilers playoff memory. It's not like Moog didn't do anything. We'll be right back after this.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's hour 2 of the RP show. And just so you know, not that you would know, but I'm back home in South Florida. Got here Saturday night. I got some funny stories for you on that. Moose was with us an hour ago. We had a slight technical bump, power surge in hour 1, but we're back on the air. And I can tell you that Jersey Jim Biringer will be joining us in the next segment after this one from NHL Full Press. But he wants to talk a little NFL, and he can get down with some college football too. It's hard to believe that in an hour we can't cover as much as we wanted to with Darren. He was with us for 38 minutes, and then he had to adjourn, and I didn't get it to the Canadian and U.S. college football I would have liked with Moose. I have no idea how the guys on Pardon the Interruption do it, other than they're far better and more professional than me. Wilbon and Kornheiser on ESPN. But here we are. Quick 6 show topics, a re-up for you. Other than a question or comment from the gallery, Shane writes in from Deer Valley, and he says, Rod, your dad's goalie mask looks great in the backdrop. Great setup. That fiberglass mask that I left Canada with my dad's from the 1960s was going on this set. And the Vegas Golden Knights jersey is up for obvious reasons. Okay, I'll get to your comments in a second, although I feel I could fill this very easily with my own stories. But the big story, Josh Allen led Buffalo to 3 scores in the final 4 minutes. The last, a 32-yard field goal by kicker Matt Prater as time expired, and the Bills rallied from 15 points down to stun the Baltimore Ravens in the Sunday Nighter 41-40. And that didn't cap week 1. That'll be capped tonight with the Vikings at the Bears. But ironically, the spread in that Bills-Ravens game was 1.5, courtesy of CoolBet. And the Bills couldn't cover. They won by 1. So for the bettors out there, I feel like I'm the only one talking about that. It's going to be hard to beat that for Game of the Year. Great start for the NFL. And one other takeaway, Aaron Rodgers turned back the clock, throwing 4 touchdowns as the Steelers went in with Rodgers to his former home, MetLife Stadium, and he led Pittsburgh to a 34-32 victory over New York. I don't know, I'm not sure that even stood out to me, to be honest, but that was what was in the Sports Wire today. That's what they were talking about. Darren had his thoughts. I'm not even sure we're going to have Darren on the air again this week because he's going back to Toronto, doing his thing. People wanted to know his take on the Titans and Cam Ward's debut, but they lost. So what are you going to say? The poll question coming out of week 1 in the NFL is this: who's in the most trouble? Cowboys, Dolphins, Lions, or other? And it's pretty interesting results, but I'm here in South Florida, and it's funny. Now I got a little more time to settle into this because we're always rushed in hour 1, but you can't escape. It's like for you Canadians, it's like NHL talk in Canada. You can't escape NHL talk there. You can't escape NFL talk here, especially if you're in an NFL market like this one. So the Dolphins, even I was looking at this, they're picked by most prognosticators to miss the playoffs, finish 4th in the AFC East, and I've seen them picked for 5 wins. But they had to have that one in Indy yesterday, week 1. Mike McDaniel had never lost a week 1 game, their head coach, who's 3-0. Colts are supposed to be a grease fire. And they go in there and got humiliated, 33-8. We watched it in Wellington, and I was listening to a portion of the first half. The radio crew for the Dolphins are like, yeah, they're fighting on the sidelines, guys. This is a disaster. And I swore that I wasn't going to listen to the radio this morning, but I couldn't help it. It's that train, it's that car crash that you drive by and you crane your neck at. You can't stop looking. I turned the radio on, and They're already talking about who's going to be the next coach of the Dolphins, and the name John Gruden's come up, Bill Belichick's come up, Ryan Day's come up. So, what are the overreactions? And I said to Darren, what are the other overreactions? He thinks they're a little harsh here in Miami, but I'm like, you should live here. They're on fire. And in Dallas, Cowboys lost week 1, Thursday night football. I didn't even remember it, 24-20. We watched it at Pump Jack's, by the way. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet, Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon. And you all, because you're not Cowboys fans, you don't see it the way that I see it. And I wish that I wasn't a Cowboys fan. I wish that I wasn't. I'd rather be like the NHL. I don't have a team. Makes it far easier to cover and be unbiased. But with the Cowboys, you got Dak Prescott spitting in the direction of Jalen Carter, which led to Carter spitting on him. And I'm like, you're the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Why are you spitting near anybody? Troy Aikman wouldn't do that. Roger Staubach wouldn't do that. Tony Romo was calling, I think it was the Dolphins game yesterday. I can't remember. They all run together. Romo wouldn't even do that. And it's funny because Dallas, my good friend from the Queen City, texted me the other day, and he's like, why don't you like Dak? I said, because he doesn't win. Oh, okay. Well, I just heard he's a real good guy. I said, well, what did John Frenzy say? Nice guys run the Kinsman Club. When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, I've become that fan. I don't care how nice you are. That's why with Rider fans, I get so annoyed because I love Cody Fajardo. I love Darren Durant. I loved all those guys that got run out of town. The Rider fans don't care. I don't care about how nice a guy Dak Prescott is. I got more. But I'm going to move on to point 2. 3 of the 4 CFL games on the weekend qualified as upsets, with the underdogs winning. Let me refresh your memory. Friday night, the BC Lions went into Ottawa and fell victim to a crumb back. Dustin Crum led the Red Blacks to a 34-33 victory, resuscitating life into the Red Blacks. And then a Saturday tripleheader. Hamilton beating Montreal 26-9. They were the lone favorite to win, but didn't take much to pick Hamilton to. Montreal's lost 5 in a row. They're done. Which, can I spend a second on that? You can go to rodpeterson.com right now and read my 10 things. And I said, I'll say it again. I'm sure Montreal's wishing that they'd kept Cody Fajardo, not dealing him away last year. And the narrative at the time was, well, how could we have Cody stay? He was our starting quarterback, but now he's been supplanted by Davis Alexander. Wait a minute. You're afraid about Cody's feelings? Said no team ever. Which I got more stories popping into my head on that. I texted a GM of a hockey team over the weekend. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm friends with so-and-so's family. It would be a good thing if so-and-so made your hockey team. GM got back to me and said, we'll do what's best for the team. I said, dope. Of course they will. Why would I think anything different? But the Montreal Alouettes were worried about Cody's feelings and how he could walk into the locker room after giving up the number 1 job. Yeah, no, that doesn't pass the smell test to me. Speaking of Cody, he goes on and lead the Edmonton Elcamos to a 31-19 victory over the Calgary Stampeders. 5 wins now for mine, Cody. And the Elcamos brings the Stampeders back down to earth. And just one more thought on the weekend games. Saskatchewan goes in and beats Winnipeg 21-13. I saw Jeff, the Stamps fan, saying that, how can you say Saskatchewan's the best team in the CFL? They barely beat Winnipeg. No, they didn't barely beat them at all. They manhandled them in the Labor Day Classic. I watched every play. The score was not indicative of that game. And this one, they kicked the tar out of the Bombers. Even, listen, Bob Knuckles Irving, everything's weaving together here. The Hall of Fame voice of the Blue Bombers, not anymore, he's retired, but he basically said the Riders whipped the Bombers in 2 straight games. It's not close. The Riders are better. Now what? I'm paraphrasing what his tweets were. John Ohm wrote in near the end of hour 1. I brought up Luke Wilson of TSN, the Super Bowl winning tight end of the Seahawks, in a very, very nasty Twitter feud, or at least I felt it was nasty. Any negativity or ill will makes me recoil. I don't like that. But they're going back and forth, and it's not a joke. Luke Wilson and Bob Irving. And I don't care who's right. This is what I care about. Bob Irving covered this league for 49 years. I believe he did play-by-play for 49 years. There was a time that Bob had been doing play-by-play for as long as I was alive. Luke Wilson, I think, has he been covering the CFL for 49 days? And the things that he was saying about Bob Irving were, again, at least 15 yards offside. So that's my take on it. I don't care who you think's wrong or right. Show some respect to Bob Knuckles Irving. Now, yeah, do I get personal about it? Yes. When I was fired by Saskatchewan, Bob was the first guy to call. That's the kind of guy that Bob Knuckles Irving is. But show some respect to a guy. For the love of God. 49 years in the league. James Mooner Warnicki writes in and says, I feel your pain, Rod. As a Jets fan, I feel not far from the dumpster fire. Here's the thing. At least, like, the Cowboys have talent. That's the part that bothers me. The Jets don't. So I go back to Dak spitting in the direction of Jalen Carter and CeeDee Lamb dropping the passes. Just because I've been with teams for decades, and it's good and bad. I've seen winning cultures. I've seen losing cultures. And with losing cultures, it's just somebody else being a donkey every week. They just rotate. Can't remember who I was talking to the other day. I said, Jim Hopson ruined me. Jim Hopson ruined me, the Hall of Fame president of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, because we won. I saw the way that he ran a team. I saw the way he treated people. It was the best of the best of the best. And I'm always holding everybody up to Jim Hopson now, and maybe that's not fair. Just like I hold every Cowboys quarterback up to Troy Aikman, and maybe that's not fair. But everybody keeps letting me down because I've seen the best. And the Cowboys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Coming in next from NHL Full Press, Jersey Jim. Guess where he's joining us from? Jersey. 902-518-3033 is the Western Dodge text line. Are you ready for a new ride? Head to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw where the deals are real and the service is legendary. Whoa! Open up the text line and here we go. Okay, there's a lot of hockey comments that have come in here, so just pause for the cause here. Told you we were continuing the quick six show topics here. Point 3, the Toronto. It's 1:11 Eastern. Oh, please visualize a positive outcome to your current problems. It actually does work. Point 3, the Toronto Blue Jays will have Monday off to prepare for a 3-game series against the visiting Astros beginning Tuesday night. Jays won 1 of 3 at the Yankees on the weekend. Their lead over the Bronx Bombers for the AL East is now 2 games. Okay, point 4. I had this for Moose. We had a technical snafu last hour that bumped us from having the ability to talk about this. I have just one word written down, McDavid. And to be honest, Darren and I talked on the phone this morning about what we were going to talk about. And Darren's like, well, I heard this, but is it true? And I also heard this. I said, stop. Just come on the air and say that, because I don't think anybody knows where this is going. And you guys all get sucked down the garden path. I don't. But it's just because I've been in this business forever. Remember the whole Shohei Ohtani, will he sign with the Blue Jays? Will he not? Is his agent talking to the Jays? Oh, yeah, he's on a plane here. No, he's not. Oh, he signed with the Dodgers. I'm not wasting my time or energy on the McDavid talk. What's far more interesting to me is the fact that it's hashtag NHL goalie week. And I couldn't wait to see what the NHL came out with for that. Like, if you're in the club, if you know, you know. You knew it was going to be a great week. And the NHL came out with this thing, who's the best tandem in NHL history? And Jersey Jim, if you're logged in, I'm going to ask you that. It popped into my mind immediately the second I read it, Fear and Moog. And that's the answer. But we've had a lot of great questions come in here. And for those, so I got my dad's mask here, this fiberglass mask that he had made in the 60s. Jim writes in, Jim Wagner, he is in Balgony. He says, I love your dad's mask. It's a beauty. Cherish that. I'm sure it raised some eyebrows getting into the U.S. Well, number one, it's fiberglass. I don't even know if it showed up on an X-ray or not, number one. Number two, that belt buckle that my dad was awarded when he went into the Scouts Hall of Fame My brother got a hold of me and said, listen, are you ever going to wear that belt buckle? And I'm like, not a chance. And he goes, well, I probably will. So I have Dad's mask. Would you be interested in a trade? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. He goes, it's a little more appropriate. You're the goalie. I'm the cowboy. And Bob's your uncle. Laverne in Swift Current writes in, this is pretty good. He says, indisputably, Fuhr and Moog, best goalie tandem. Shout out to Billy Smith and Chico Resch. I would not argue that in terms of runner-up. But as far as the best ever, it's Fuhr and Moog. And that's, do you guys remember way back? Because we're in episode number 1571 right now. Some negative Nelson writing in here and going, Rod doesn't talk about anything he doesn't know about. Yeah, no, I don't. And if everybody stuck to that concept, the world would be a lot better place. I will sit here and talk about NHL goaltenders and goaltending in general because that's what I know about. I never played football. That's why I always go to my guys when I have questions about what happened on the play. Could he have avoided hitting that quarterback? Do you think that was pass interference? Because I don't know. I didn't play it. Hockey? Yeah, I got that one. Graham in Calgary writes in and he says, well, I was up in Edmonton for the CFL rematch. The vibe was amazing, packed in the lower bowl. Great to see a classic Edmonton crowd. They're back. You can thank Cody Fajardo for that and God. By the way, the crowd was announced at 28,365. For those that were there, is that legit? Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, hey, Rod, looking forward to seeing your boy Cody this Saturday at BMO Field against the Scullers on John Candy Day. Oh, I feel like we don't have time for my John Candy stories. We'll push those to later in the week. Quite often I get asked by young people or just, people that are interested and know what I do. They're like, who's the most famous guy you ever interviewed? It's John Candy. It's John Candy. We'll get to more of your questions and comments later on. Jersey Jim joins us next from NHL Full Press right after this.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Come in. Enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 brought to you in part by Outlaw Communications, where creativity isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. Outlaw Communications, from strategic communications to leadership training and conversational content, we help your message connect and inspire. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to go fast with my boy, Jersey Jim from NHL Full Press. How you doing, Jersey Jim?
I am doing good, Rod. Good to be on. Good to be here. Glorious Monday. Can't wait to talk sports.
Life is amazing, and we got a lot of things to get to with you. I think I'm going to start with NFL. You're a hockey guy. What's your first sport? I feel like it's hockey, or is that even an unfair question?
Hockey.
Is there a tie for number one? Is hockey? Okay.
Yeah, it's hockey.
Okay.
Hockey's my first love. Yeah, hockey's my first love.
Okay, well, you know that I got some hockey questions coming down the pipe, but I'm going to start with our poll question for you. Coming out of week 1 in the NFL for EMJ Marketing, who's in the most trouble? Cowboys, Dolphins, Lions, or somebody else I haven't even thought of?
It's the Dolphins. It's not even close. I mean, this isn't even a fair question in my opinion. Shout out to my guy Teddy, Nightcap Recap partner. We talked about it on our NFL preview. He told me that, you know what, Dolphins wheels are going to come off this year. They're not even going to get 6 wins. I added the caveat that Mike McDaniel will be the first coach fired this year. There's a lot of trouble. Offense isn't even clicking. To lose, to put up that performance against the Indianapolis Colts team with a Daniel Jones as the quarterback, that's just troublesome. You have all season to prepare for that performance? Yeah, that's not good.
Okay, well, you're seeing what I'm seeing. And by the way, I was watching NFL Network the other day. Kyle Brandt was on there, and their topic was, who's going to have more wins for New York teams, Giants or Jets? I'm like, you're just asking this? Jersey Jim and I talked about this like 4, 5, 6 months ago, but they're both 0-1. Probably not surprised in either case.
No, I'm not. I mean, look, I think the Jets put up a great performance yesterday. I think Justin Fields clock situational awareness. If he takes that first down, runs forward, slides timeout, I think the Jets have a chance to win that game. The Giants, that's just, again, we talked about the Dolphins. I'll say it again, Brian Daboll and the coaching staff. You look great in preseason, but again, pads, shorts in preseason doesn't mean anything. When you're unprepared to play a game like that against Washington, you know what Jaden Daniels is going to do. And the Commanders didn't even have a great game anyway. They kept you around, and Russ looked awful. You know what? I don't know if either team's going to have more wins than the other one, because I think they're both going to be bad. But if I had to pick a team, it might be the Jets.
They'll have more wins?
Yeah, I think the Jets will have more wins than the Giants. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah, you're sitting out there in New Jersey. You live a stone's throw from MetLife Stadium. How does this play that Aaron Rodgers comes in there after the way that he was treated, rightfully or not? I don't know because I'm not there. But and to win, there had to be some bragging rights on each side going in.
Yeah, 100% there was bragging rights for sure. I mean, look, I thought Justin Fields played a great game for his team as well. The revenge game against the Steelers, they moved on from him. And then, Rodgers comes in, plays as well as I didn't have 4 touchdowns and 200 yards for Aaron Rodgers yesterday. I'm going to be honest. But I did say he was going to go in there and win. I thought the Steelers were going to go in there and win. And my mock headline is Rodgers takes flight back in New York. That was going to be my mock headline for the weekend. And it's true, they did well. Look, I thought Rodgers did well, but I still not sure that the Steelers are a playoff team. I'm going to be honest. I think it was just a bragging rights game. He comes out. He's glad to beat everybody on the Jets, as he said post-game. I want to see what the next game is like. I want to see it against somebody else because we knew he was going to do well against the Jets.
Sure. Well, here's the thing. That's a game, if you're from a Steelers perspective, that you think's a winnable game that you have to have. And now you're understanding why they're on fire here in South Florida, because that was a winnable game at the Colts. And they got obliterated. They weren't even close. So, no, you're right. The correct answer is the Dolphins. You're 100% right. Wayne in BC says, I'm a Russell Wilson fan, but he had a bad game. Maybe the team around him aren't world beaters either. I'm watching that game with a Giants fan. Shout out Bree. And my friend Chris from the Bronx is probably watching right now. Clearly a huge Giants fan. They were very upset with the play of their team. And I'm kind of sitting there going, because I expected the Cowboys to lose at Philly. My expectations are very low. Like, why would Giants fans think they had a chance at Washington?
Just because the way the defense has been playing, the hyped-up defense, Abdul Carter, you come in, right? You got Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side. They looked better. Right team had energy. Look, that energy from preseason again. But again, it's preseason. Not the coaches aren't throwing everybody out there. Guys are playing against guys that are on practice squads now. Or to quote Lou Brown from Major League, guys will be bagging groceries in a couple of weeks. I mean, look, Brian Daboll did not have this team prepared to play. But the issues of this team continue to show its head. The offensive line is poor. They need to be able to run the football. They can't. And Malik Neighbors is the best player on the team, but they just can't get him the football.
We're going to bring Jersey Jim on and obviously talk about New York area teams, and we will. But it's funny. I was thinking about this morning. We are trapped in a 24-hour society. This is my brother's term. He's like, we forget about yesterday. We don't think about tomorrow. It's all about today. And I'm like, the Chiefs, rightly or wrongly, that's the way people are. The Chiefs lost Friday in Brazil. I was at a hockey game, so I didn't see it. But it's like, did the world blow up Saturday after the Chiefs lost to the Chargers? Because that's a pretty big upset coming out of week one that I'm not hearing a whole lot of talk about.
No one's talking about it. No one's really talking about it. Kind of flew under the radar. To be honest, I had the Chargers going in, winning that game, to be honest. I like what the Chargers bring. Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, they got the running back now. That defense stepped up when it mattered. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is going to do Patrick Mahomes things. I mean, that sideways throw was ridiculous. Like, only him. But, again, I'll say it again. Patrick Mahomes with the hits, some of the things that happened in the game. Again, you wonder why the NFL is the way the NFL is, and there's conspiracy theories. But the way Justin Herbert closed the game out, the way the Chargers closed that game out, get that first down, put the ball in your best player's hands, slide for that first down to close the game out. I think there should be more attention to it because I think maybe the fact that maybe people think the Chiefs are going to have a down year. Xavier Worley had a separated shoulder in that game. And the Raiders played well this weekend, so I think people should be talking about it. This could be a down year for the Chiefs.
Well, that's why I say that it's so Friday. Everybody's got enough to talk about, right? They're all talking about the Bills comeback and so forth, and for good reason. The viewers, by the way, are dying to get to hockey, so we will. But one more thing with Jim, a real specialty for him is college football. So it is the Rod Pedersen Show. Here are my takeaways. Number one, I went to FAU, Florida A&M the other night to see my boy Henry Burris coach, and they got shabackled, to use Hank's term. Miami won. They're number 5. They might even move up, the Hurricanes. Arch Manning got on track for the Longhorns, but you knew they were going to spank San Jose State. OSU won 70-0 over Grambling State. They are saying LSU is the best team in college football. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what they are saying. Florida State is 2-0. Last year they were 0-2. Thank you, transfer portal. And I got more, but those are my big takeaways. What are yours for week 2 in college football?
I think, again, you want to talk about a Friday thing. We talked about it last segment with the Chiefs. I think this is a team that's flying under the radar, no pun intended, but the Oregon Ducks out west, I think they're the best team in the Big Ten. Let's be honest, Dante Moore, the way that offense is. Again, look, I know they played Montana State, but then they just shellacked Oklahoma State. That's a Power 4 conference team from the Big 12. Again, Mike Gundy run his mouth before the game, and Dan Lanning in Oregon took it personally and put a 69 spot up because they talked about the transfer portal and Oregon spending money and this and that. But you got to spend money in today's college football day and age.
Yep.
to be successful. Oregon, to me, is the best team in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State's behind that. I think there's too much hype around Penn State. I think the Nittany Lions, I think they're overhyped. Drew Aller, look, they played Nevada and FIU. I want to see what happens against Penn State. That's the game I got circled. James Franklin, I think, overrated coach in that ending. LSU's still a good team. Georgia, LSU played okay in their games. Georgia's got a big one against Tennessee. I think the teams we expected to win, and I think we just got to pump the brakes on some of these quarterbacks because I think everybody's overhyping them, like Cade Klubnik and Clemson. I think Clemson's not as good as we think they are. They barely beat Troy. That's a winnable game. You should have crushed them. And there was a lot of 70 spots this weekend, but to me, Oregon. Oh, and I got to give a shout out South Florida. Big win against Florida, coming back late with the field goal. I think Billy Napier might be on the hot seat down there too.
Well, they were talking about firing him last year. Several weeks into the season, he survived. But South Florida visits Miami this Saturday, and I had planned to go to the game, but something a little more exciting has come up. I'll be telling the viewers a little later in the week. But I will say this before we switch to hockey: you gotta love the local radio broadcast. So I was leaving FAU Stadium the other night. They were rolling Florida A&M 56-14. And the voice of the Owls, Ken LaVicka, on Fox Sports 640, South Florida says, well, next week we got to go down to that dump of a stadium in West Miami and play FIU. I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe you're saying this. This is a rival 40 miles down the road. But I got in so much hell for saying that when I was the voice of a team. But maybe that's why people loved me. To hockey, so I think you saw what I was talking about earlier. It's NHL goalie week. It's about time they started to honor the goalies in the world. And the NHL came out today with this, who's the greatest tandem in NHL history? For me, it's Fuhr and Moog, and it's not close. They said the current best tandems are Winnipeg 1, Dallas 2, Rangers 3, Caps 4. I would argue that even. But for the purposes of history, who's the best tandem of all time?
I mean, I've thought about this, and I had two. I was debating between two, but I'm leaning Oilers. I'm going Fuhr and Moog. But the other one was Jacques Plante and Glenn Hall with St. Louis and what they did. But, again, I think it's Moog and it's Fuhr. Because go back to that 1990 Cup run, he came in, right? Like Moog and Fuhr down, and that was Billy Ranford's time in 1990 when the Conn Smythe. But earlier in the 80s, Moog and Fuhr, I mean, that tandem was ridiculous. I mean, they played so well, and if it wasn't for some bad bounces along the way, maybe the Oilers dominate more in the 80s than they do. But I heard somebody talk about Billy Smith and Chico Resch. I mean, you can't go wrong with that tandem either. But I think I agree with you on that. I think that's the best tandem in history right now.
That's why the world's gone mad. I think we can all agree on that. But what hasn't changed is that winning matters. 4 cups, end of story. Mic drop. Name me somebody better. And as I said, because these guys are saying Winnipeg's the best tandem. Hellebuck and your aunt would be the best tandem because of Connor Hellebuck. That's not the definition. It's that you can put either guy in and expect to win. Not many teams have that even now.
No, and look in the 90s, everybody wants to point out the best tandem in the 90s you could argue was Mike Vernon and Chris Osgood in 97. That's the only year you could say 2 guys could go in there and win games. Other than that, it was Brodeur, Hasek, Waugh, and do any of you know who their backups were? I know whose Brodeur's was. It was Chris Terreri, and that was a pretty good tandem when they won the cup. But again, that's 2 out of how many teams were playing in the 90s? It's pretty hard. I mean, yeah, they put up a couple of cups, right? You could say early 90s, Richter, Van Beesbrook were really good, but the Rangers didn't win until Beezer moved on and Richter was the man. So, again, if you look at it, Moog, Fuhr, hands down, mic drop, let's move on. Next topic.
Rob in Regina writes in and says on the Western Dodge text line, Fuhr and Moog are definitely the best tandem. Andy Moog was the reason I became a goalie. I had his poster on my wall from when he was with the Bruins. Loved getting to see your dad's mask last week. I can only imagine what it would have been like to wear it. Somebody asked me, this is my dad's. I don't know if you've been following the story,
That's awesome.
Jim. But
I saw it. That's
yeah,
awesome.
that thing's legit from the 60s when men were men and Dad didn't care. Yeah, I wore it out to play street hockey, but that's not the same as what he faced. So, so we're putting this to bed, Fear and Moog. It's a very fun discussion, but not a long one. And like Dallas is the second best tandem, they say, at NHL.com. In an elimination game, you got to pull Ottinger and put in Casey DeSmith because he was so bad, and you're like number 2? What are you talking about? Like, I'd love to have more time to go down that road, but I'm not going to today because we've spent enough on it. But Connor McDavid, I'm tired of this, Jim, and you got your thumb on everything. Where are you on the will he, won't he, and when he discussion?
There was a shirt that came out in Green Bay years ago. Well, actually, Dan Patrick made the shirt, but Aaron Rodgers had the famous line that said, "Relax." And they made a T-shirt. It says, "Aaron says relax, I have the T-shirt." I think the Edmonton Oilers, somebody out there, you can give me royalties for it, says Connor says relax. You guys are over-analyzing what he's saying. He's not going anywhere. He's going to get paid whatever he wants. Within reason, obviously. They're not just going to give him a Brinks truck and give him the keys to they could if they wanted to. But he wants to win. He wants to win in Edmonton. The quotes I heard after that practice on Friday remind me of Michael Jordan. Jordan got beat up by the Pistons in the conference finals at 88, 89, and 90. They put the team around him. They went to work, and they just rattled off 3 straight championships. Am I saying that's going to happen with the Oilers? Maybe. They went to back-to-back Cup finals. What I do know is the team around him is not as good as the team that lost in Game 7. That I know for a fact. The depth scoring isn't there. Yeah, you have Draisaitl, you have Bouchard. Okay, that's great. But not having Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg on that team is crucial. And I think McDavid knows it. He knows what has happened over the last couple of years. When they go to the negotiation table, this thing's going to be over in 5 minutes. They know what they want to do. He's got to think about everything. It's a slow process. It'll get done, and he stays in Edmonton. I don't buy the hype that he's going anywhere. If he signs a deal, I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 year deal, and then we'll revisit this down the road. But as I've written and said, if he signs a short-term deal, this talk's not going to go away. It isn't, but he's staying in Edmonton. I don't believe the hype that he's leaving. I just pump the brakes a lot on this thing.
Well, it's just they're feeding their own anxiety up there. It's like, I'm with you, relax, but they won't.
Yeah, no, just relax a little bit. The man isn't going anywhere. 90, if there was a team I need to be concerned and not relaxed, it'd be 97 in Minnesota. Kaprizov, that's the guy I would have anxiety over, because he may not stay. He may not.
Jeremy Winnipeg says, I can see McDavid leaving. Cannon, Mississauga says, for a young guy, that's impressive that Jim knew Plant and Hall with St. Louis. So there you go. But Jimmy knows his stuff, which I'll get to everybody else's questions here after you adjourn. Tell people where they can read your stuff. Jimmy, you do such a great job covering the NHL.
Hey, thanks, Rod, so much. I appreciate that, guys. Get me fullpresshockey.com. Also up on Full Press Media on my Substack. I'll link it on my Twitter at Jim Biringer, NHLrumors.com, and part of the RG Media as well. A lot of great times ahead. I cannot wait for the hockey season, but it's a great time to be a sports fan. That's all I'm going to say.
Yankees? You're a Yankees guy, right?
Yeah, I'm a Yankees guy.
Where are they going to be in the end? Okay, we got 45 seconds.
Where you're going to be. Show me where they are in October, and then we'll talk.
Bomber Boy writes in and says, Rod saying he doesn't have an NHL team but gets visibly insulted when the Panthers are disrespected. Give me an example of that. I don't recall that ever happening. I feel like we have a lot to get to for the rest of the show. 902-518-3033 is the text line to reach us for Western Judge. Jim, as always, thanks for the time, brother.
Always a pleasure, Rod. Take care. We'll do it again.
Jersey Jim Biringer checking in from NHL Full Press. We'll be back in a second, everybody. Get the text line rolling, 902-518-3033. We're back in South Florida, but talking about the same things, and also the YouTube chat. And while you're there, give us a like, share, and comments help us out a lot too. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
RP Show continues. Same show, new location, back in Florida for the next, as long as I can be. How about that? Episode number 1571 coming your way. El Sasco writes in, known on Twitter as Vintage Sasco. He writes in on the Western Dodge text line. By the way, Vintage Sasco, if you're going to go buy a new truck, make it Western Dodge. Why wouldn't you? He says, hey, Flora Rod, random, but I miss lawnmower guy. I understand that. I don't. And for producer Corey, you wouldn't know who that is. So I'll explain it right now. We have a new production team. We have new everything. Time moves on. That would be the best way to put it. But for the first, 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. I did a show out of Florida, outdoors. Not knowing Florida. So if you know anything about Florida, doing a show outdoors, nobody does it. For a variety of reasons. I did it from our backyard. But so the lawnmower guy would show up at random times, once a week. Never tell us when he's coming, and would room, right through the show. So there was that. Let's not forget about the storms and the multiple times that I was almost electrocuted while on the air. Entertaining for you, not so fun for me. So a year ago, I went into a studio. I was just there this morning, actually, chatting with Yvonne, the receptionist. And I'm like, yeah, Yvonne, I didn't renew my lease. We're going somewhere else. Oh, she was upset. She's from Pittsburgh, and she loves her Sidney Crosby. So still indoors, but not in that same suite. But you wouldn't know. But anyways, as fun as it was, not going outside for Florida shows as much as we loved Lawn Guy. And it's funny on this NHL goalie tandem thing. I kind of thought that you all would have thoughts. I didn't think you'd have this many thoughts. And for those that don't know, the NHL has designated this goalie week. As a matter of fact, hashtag NHL goalie week. And I can't wait for the rest of the week to see what questions they come out with. But today it was tandem of all time in the NHL. The obvious choice is Fear and Moog. In Swift Current writes in and says, Patty Roy's tandem was Brian Hayward. Actually, Hayward played a lot of games for the Habs. Sure, we can sit here and talk about real good tandems for a long time. But are we going to talk about who's the best ever? Because there's no debate. And they also put in the article that I read today at NHL.com, the top current tandems. They had Winnipeg 1, Dallas 2, Rangers 3. How about trying to make the playoffs? Has anybody thought of that? And 4, Washington. So I read these things for the entertainment, but I don't put any stock into them because 9 times out of 10, they're wrong. They did a top 10 ranking last year at this time, didn't even have Sergei Bobrovsky on it. 2 minutes already? What the hell? Mike in Winnipeg writes in and he says, Pokey and the Bandit? Come on, guys. Pokey Reddick and Daniel Berthiaume. Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, there's a reason that one of the Florida NHL teams is called the Lightning. Oh, yeah. Do some research on that. It's very interesting. Lightning is a Tampa thing. It's like for one thing in Tampa, Lightning. By the way, overtime is coming up. I'll do all of your questions and comments because I know there are a lot of CFL ones. Ken in Mississauga writes in, he says, Mike Boria psalming because Boria blocked a lot of shots. I was with King Clancy's nephew this morning. Just saying. We're going to do some business together coming up here right away. C. Lightning writes in and he says, did somebody say lightning? Yes. Oh, Wayne C. writes in, he says, even in the woods, Florida is a very hot place. From what you say, Rod. But I got down, I said, I've only got less than a minute here, but I got down here Saturday, landed at 5. I was at FAU Stadium by 6, watching the game, went for a massage, went to McDonald's, and went to my old studio and cleaned some stuff out all that evening. Sam said to me yesterday, well, you did a lot of stuff Saturday night. I can get a lot of stuff done. And they're all saying, it's so hot here. It's not bad, guys. And the weather in Canada already. So this is where I want to be. Mike Vernon and Reggie Lemelin, come on. We'll be back with overtime right after this on Game Plus TV.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Welcome back for Overtime, everybody. Proudly brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes. You know, I ask a lot of our guests, are you hockey first or football first? But I can tell you Overtime Hockey Lanes is hockey first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And we love them. Randy and Michelle at 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Still time, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Still time to get down there and work on your shot. And their BOGO special is still on, monthly and yearly memberships. Buy one, get one, where skill and fun collide. Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Before I get to that sports update, Ken in Mississauga writes in. He says, can a football player in U.S. college make enough money in 4 years to never work again? Well, I would suggest it depends on what state he's in. Tony, hey, Tony, from Cochrane, Alberta. Thanks for the photos you sent. They came to my U.S. phone, so I didn't get them until I got back here on Saturday. But Tony says, Texas sophomore quarterback Arch Manning is making over $6 million. You think he needs to work again? Even if he doesn't follow his uncles into the NFL. Yeesh. I actually heard $7 million this season for Arch Manning. But that's like everything. Everybody, he's number one. I mean, I got friends here whose kids are playing college football, and they're pulling down like $500 a month U.S. Not bad, not enough to retire on. So there's not a lot of Arch Mannings around. But great question. The sports update in here in overtime for Ultimate Fan Zone. The Toronto Blue Jays, who fell 4-3 to the Yankees Sunday to lose 2 of 3 on the weekend, still hold a 2-game lead in the American League East over the Pinstripes with 19 games to go. They're off today before opening a 6-game homestand Tuesday against the Astros, and then the Orioles are in on the weekend. The Chicago Bears entertain the Minnesota Vikings tonight on Monday Night Football. at Soldier Field as Week 1 wraps up. Rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy, the 10th overall pick in the 2024 draft, makes his debut for Minnesota after missing last year with a knee injury suffered in his lone preseason appearance. Sports Update is brought to you by our friends at Ultimate Fan Zone. Are you looking for the hottest fan gear? Swing by Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store in Moose Jaw or shop online at ultimatefanzone.ca, where real fans get their gear. And by the way, if you're watching this program across the Canadian prairies, do me a favor and stop in at Ultimate Fan Zone, or at the very least, check out their website at ultimatefanzone.ca. The reason I say that is I'm coming up on 5 seasons now covering the Florida Panthers here in South Florida. I have yet to find a sporting goods store or an apparel store that rivals Ultimate Fan Zone. NFL, NHL, obviously CFL, college sports. I like to be able to go into a store and try stuff on. Try on a hat. Hats are like their thing. I don't understand. Everybody wants to shop online anymore. Not me. Not me. So go check out Ultimate Fan Zone in Moose Jaw, right downtown on Main Street. Look for Billy and tell you the RP show sent you, and you will not be disappointed. Who would have thought that on this September the 8th, the biggest topic today would be the greatest goaltender tandem of all time? I think that kind of speaks to our audience. The Game Plus guys know this. We're not like any other show coming out the yak box. But these Vegas guys are going to realize soon why this show has survived into season 7, because it's different than everything else. So the question was, what's the best goalie tandem in NHL history? Inspired by the NHL.com, who came out with a story on this today to kick off NHL goalie week. I'm saying it's Fuhr and Moog. Nobody's really arguing. Robin in Coquitlam, BC writes in, hey, Robin, says, I'm sorry, a little late. Dryden and Larocque, the Canadiens never flinched when Bunny was in. Signed Ron and yeah. I'm not going to argue that. Ken Dryden is the reason that I'm a goalie, not Bunny Larocque. But I would say when I was more impressionable was when I was a fan of the Oilers and Moog and Fuhr. I see what you're saying. What did I say? The definition is, who can you put in and expect to win? Not just to give the other guy a break. That was the Oilers. And if that's what it was in the 70s for the Habs, Bob's your uncle. I don't really remember. Kelly in the Queen City writes in and says, hey, good morning, Rod. Lots of good sports this weekend. Kansas City could be for the taking this year. I'd say Fuhr and Moog or Dryden and Bunny. Rest easy, Ken Dryden. When we were young, the legends and heroes didn't die. Well, at least we still have Fred Flintstone. Have a good day. So many things just flooded my mind. I never had the chance to meet Ken Dryden, which is odd because I met most. The guy he's the reason I'm a goalie. But remember one time some friends went down to Toronto and they got a suite for, must have been Blue Jays games. I think Blue Jays games. And for whatever reason, Ken Dryden was in there as the suite host. It reminded me when we went to Chicago in January and Chris Chelios was in the suite as a host. I love how teams do that. And they just told me, well, Jim Hobson was one, and he was the president of the Riders, and he said how first class Ken Dryden was. I'm like, I don't doubt that at all. And when you say Fred Flintstone, oh my God, this is what I dread. When I go off the air here in 90 seconds-ish, I'm going to be subjected to all this Dolphins crying down here. There's a Twitter account called the Finstones, because the Dolphins are called the Fins. I just saw this. I got to stay off social media. Can't listen to the radio. He puts out on his Twitter this morning, and he follows this show. I should get him on. He goes, did yesterday's loss not feel like 5 losses to you? It's only week 1, and I don't know how to tell these people. It's only going to get way, way, way worse. It's like those Giants fans that actually thought they had a chance at Washington yesterday. These are good friends of mine. I don't like to see people in pain. Oh, well. Great job, producer Corey. Thank you, Jersey Jim. Thank you, Moose. We'll do it all over again tomorrow, noon Eastern, here on Game Plus Television, YouTube Live, podcast, and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?